Hi, welcome to Ed.U Connect. I'm Sydney, and joining us today is John Menard, who retired from John Deere and Company. So what did you do?
During my 26-year career with John Deere, I worked for primarily the construction equipment company. And John Deere, as you know, makes construction equipment, farm equipment, lawn and grounds care equipment. They sell insurance. They have also a credit company. So I worked across all divisions of John Deere throughout my career.
What made you want to go into this profession?
I've always enjoyed construction equipment, and little did I know that I'd be joining a primarily farm equipment company. So, yeah, it was just an enjoyable occupation for me.
What college did you attend?
I attended 2 colleges. I got my undergraduate degree at the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York, and my master's degree 5 years later, or 10 years later after graduation, at St. Ambrose. So it was a master's in business.
So what courses did you take?
In my undergrad, it's primarily engineering. West Point is known for being a very firm engineering school and also produces military graduates that go on to have a career or a short career in the Army.
To be in like John Deere, would you need to take both of those colleges, or would you need to or would it?
That's a good question. I started with John Deere after serving 11 years in the Army. And then with John Deere, when I was learning my undergraduate education, it was primarily engineering courses. So it was electronics, physics, statics, different things like thermal fluid dynamics. I had a very broad engineering degree. So it was all very interesting courses that I took. Plus I had to learn to do reading, writing, and arithmetic, just like other students in the basic core courses. But I truly, as a kid, wanted to be a soldier my whole life, so ever since I was 6 years old. And then I also was turned on in the military into heavy equipment, tracked vehicles, and that's where I started enjoying not only tanks in the military, but tracked vehicles that John Deere produced, bulldozers and loaders and whatnot. So I thought, when I was thinking about getting out of the Army, I thought maybe going from one all-American operation called the Army, United States Army, to go to John Deere, which is an all-American, that I thought was an all-American company to work for.
Well, for the Army, thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
But for the John Deere, what was the most difficult part about that job for you?
Well, it was a long career, and it was a progressive career. So it was almost 27 years being in the Army, or excuse me, being at John Deere. And the toughest thing, I didn't find it all that tough, like I did some things in the Army. But the hardest thing, which was also the most enjoyable thing, was working with people.
Yeah.
So communication was always very challenging and also enjoyable. It's a double-edged sword, if you will. And then also sometimes customers can be very challenging. But that was one of the most enjoyable things that I got to do while I was at John Deere, was work with customers. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but it's challenging yet enjoyable. And it still is today. I'm retired and working for Hamilton Tech College. And I'm enjoying working with students and working with the staff there. So it's, again, communication is tough with people, but it's also enjoyable when you get your point across and when you can make a difference.
So would you consider that as your biggest accomplishment as well?
I think there's a lot of accomplishments in a long career. So biggest accomplishment at John Deere may have been working to produce as a program manager and help produce something that would bring the right technician to the broken or maintainable tractor at the right time. And it wasn't just bringing the technician out, but controlling them with electronic repair orders that were sent electronically through the internet and through different electronic medium. And then also, I would send them their repair orders electronically, have electronic communication with them, and then also track them through GPS tracking. So you could create efficiencies that would be more profitable for the company that was sending out the technicians, and also create customer satisfaction because the technician was there at the right time with the right tools, taking care of the right problem. So that was the biggest accomplishment that I was able to put my hand in. And I didn't do it alone. Anything that you work on in life, you typically have a team helping you out. So I was just, as a program manager, they call it, you organize people. And that was the, again, communication piece. You have to communicate, you have to be educated in the area of the technology that they're working with, and then get the project done.
What skills do you believe that someone would need to acquire to be a part of like the John Deere?
Well, the skills to be part of John Deere, it's a big company. Engineering skills, so you have, I kind of break it down into a couple different areas. You have manufacturing, you have engineering, you have marketing, sales, communication. There's a lot of different areas that John Deere covers. So the world, John Deere is your oyster, if you will. The world is your oyster. You can, as long as you have your education, typically need to have an undergraduate degree it could be in engineering, in the sciences, or it could be in marketing, it could be in finance, it could be in even in human resources or whatnot. There's a lot of different areas of education that you can go into to get into John Deere. But I leveraged my military leadership. Well, first I had an undergraduate degree in engineering, and I had my experience as an officer in the Army. And I sat down with a manager, two managers like yourself. I talked to them, and the next day I had a job. I was wearing a green suit as an Army man, and then the next day, or the next Monday after the interview, they offered me a position in Dubuque, Iowa. So the biggest question they asked me at the end of the interview is, how would you like to move to Dubuque to work for John Deere? And I basically said, wherever the opportunity exists, I'd love to work for your company.
How do you believe the industry has changed over the years?
The industry? Oh, John Deere is the second oldest company in the United States, next to DuPont. And if you can think, it started in 1837 in Prairie du Chien, and it went from a steel plow all the way to machines that operate by themselves. So the engineering side of the business has changed dramatically. Day to day, we have new technologies moving forward. As far as who helps develop the manufacturing, the design, the building, and the assembly of these great machines, it's again, it's a worldwide industry, and we're leveraging a very ethnically and humanly diverse population from around the world, both male, female, different religions, different education levels, and I always say the world is getting smaller as we mature and the communication age gets stronger. And yeah, John Deere is leveraging all of these different areas. So it's, when I first started, I felt like I was just working in a little bubble called Dubuque, Iowa. And now when I finished my 26-year career, I was able to travel to many parts of the world to work for and with Deere and with many other customers. Germany, India, California. It was a great and progressive career for me.
Where do you see the profession going in the next 10 years?
Which in the next 10 years?
Like the John Deere, like those professions.
I'll tell you what, there is a great, if you have an engineering degree, John Deere, and you from a reputable school, I'm sure John Deere would be happy to have you. The engineering, when I first started, it was pretty much populated in John Deere. I'll just speak for Deere because that's what I know. Was fairly a male-driven occupation.
Mhm.
There are a lot of female engineers with Deere now. There are a lot of, like you said, diversity. So different ethnicities, different religions, different people from around the world. So I see the Deere leveraging more of a global economy. And one of the big things that Deere talks about is feeding the world. Our population is exploding right now. And one of our missions at Deere is, we say our value is, or our vision is feet on the ground, eyes on the horizon. So we're going to continue to stay rooted with people of the earth, but always look forward to meeting the growing population and the needs of those people.
What advice would you give to those that want to be a part of this profession?
Anyone who wants to go work for John Deere, I would say get a great education. If you can, try to intern with the company while you're in school, in college, and then talk to people who are working for Deere like myself. If you truly want to have or work for Deere or work for any company, try to understand the business and understand where your talents would fit. Okay, so if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a communications specialist, or both, find out where you fit, what's your niche, and go for it. And then try to meet people, join organizations that support the Deere employees are in, such as the Project Management Institute or the engineering societies that are in. You can find them here in Geneseo and in the Quad Cities, or your school networks, your college school networks that you're going to be part of. They can help you get work within any company throughout the globe if you're open to travel.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you for having me. Hope I answered your questions.